Well, let's bring in Rina Shah now, who's a political advisor and commentator. She joins us now from Washington, D.C. Good to have you back with us, Rina. A stunning turn of events in Miami, a second apparent assassination attempt on the former U.S. President Donald Trump, coming just 2 months after the first assassination attempt, which occurred at a rally in Pennsylvania on July 13th. What's your reaction to what we're seeing unfolding?
Well, I believe in normal times, the immediate gut reaction of most Americans is sympathy and really pity for the immediate former president of the United States to go through not just one, but two attempted assassination situations. This one being more close to home than the other one on his property there. And while he was golfing, is when this Secret Service agent spotted this rifle. And of course, the rifle was, I believe, confiscated. I'm not entirely sure, but from what I understand, that rifle had a real opportunity to take down this president because it wasn't just any kind of gun. It was the type that gives you a looking glass essentially to see your target well. And in an open spot like a golf course, what you can assume this is the kind of situation where you feel as if former President Trump is a sitting duck. But then you remember just who he is, the kind of person that when he was campaigning for the first time in 2016 would repeatedly talk in language, excuse me, that was shrouded in violence. And essentially, you have to wonder how many Americans tonight are thinking that this former president almost welcomes these kinds of attempts on his life, given the rhetoric that he puts out there. It's all very jarring.
Now, for her part, the Vice President Kamala Harris and the Democratic nominee for president said that she is glad that Donald Trump is safe and well. You mentioned that this is happening at a tense time, not far out from the November presidential election. What effect do you think this second attempt on Donald Trump's life might have on the campaign?
I think the campaign is without a doubt very surprised at this. Because we just have nothing in recent history to look outside of former President Reagan's, of course, surviving an attempt on his life in Washington, D.C. by a gunman. But that was the 80s. I mean, this is a situation right now where we are sitting in 2024, where there are sophisticated technologies. And frankly, I'm struck by just how little we know about truly how these former elected officials are protected by our taxpayer dollar. We know they're given Secret Service detail, but I would assume with the amount of technology that the vast majority of Americans have access to, tracking apps, we know drone technology is used not only in wars that we are giving backing to. Why wouldn't there be drone technology used on the former president's golf course to perhaps identify this? Because when I read about it, I was again very much surprised and taken aback by the fact that it was one Secret Service agent who happened to spot this rifle sticking through the bushes. That feels like a very sort of yesteryear type of situation. You would think that they would be able to deploy these sophisticated technologies in order to protect the former president of the United States, who again is campaigning to try to be the next president of the United States. I'm just very much I've resigned myself to a situation where it's rather frustrating. And I think a lot of younger Americans feel this way because we do have a very much older bench of candidates in this country. It feels like they don't want to move on from power. And thus, we don't really see sophisticated, innovative technologies talked about by these candidates. And of course, I'm only talking about former President Trump here. I'm glad Harris has come out and, of course, condemned this type of violence. But I'm not surprised because when I look at the facts, I know this. In a recent survey, it was found that 23% of Americans find that it is right and proper, essentially, and that good American patriots believe in using violence to get to essentially an outcome that they want in politics. That's a really high number. And since Trump campaigned for the White House the very first time in 2016, we have seen political extremism on the rise.
And Rita, I just want to bring you some of the latest developments. There are reports that the name of the suspect in custody has been released. The name that has been reported is Ryan Wesley Routh. We don't know anything more than that, and I assume that officials will be briefing the media about this at some point. But in terms of everything that you've just said about the political implications of this second assassination attempt, we know that in the wake of the first attempt in July 13th, the director of the Secret Service stepped down pending an investigation. We know that at least one Florida congressman is calling for the Secret Service to brief Congress sometime next week in the wake of this second attempt. But the fact that Trump wasn't injured at all in this second attempt would suggest that the Secret Service here really did do their job in averting a potential disaster.
The fact that bullets actually flew in Pennsylvania a couple months ago during that first assassination attempt at Trump, that tells us there was a failure on the part of the Secret Service. Today, this is not a failure. Clearly, one agent spotted this rifle sticking through the bushes, and all was sort of taken care of at that point, meaning the principal, former President Donald Trump, who's to be protected, was protected, and bullets did not fly. So there's that piece. But moving away from the Secret Service for one moment, the thing that both of these attempts, these assassination attempts, have in common is that there's a single person with a single gun, it seems. And of course, we've learned that there's been nothing else in Pennsylvania. It's a lone white male with a gun. And we've seen numerous shootings in this country be exactly that, a lone white male with a gun. We have a gun problem here in these United States, and it is not overblown for me to say that. We do not have, let me be clear, we do not have a ban on assault weapons, weapons that are literally weapons of war, as VP Harris herself said just this past week in an interview. We used to have a 1994 assault weapon ban, and since that was not renewed by Congress, what we know is the number of mass shootings has gone up in numbers we cannot even grasp. What I'm talking about right now is the fact that weapons of war are in the hands of single people, individuals in this country who think they have an agenda that they can accomplish by shooting somebody of former President Trump's stature. I don't fully know how we solve that problem, but one thing is for sure, our lawmakers can do the right thing and ban assault weapons, but we know special interests are not letting that happen. We know too many Republicans still support using weapons of war. Again, these assault rifles. And what I know is a fact here is that not all Democrats want to take away their guns. And we even heard that from VP Harris on the debate stage this week. But we have a very real problem when we see these situations occur over and over and with frequency like this.
Okay, Rina Shah, we will leave it there for now. But thank you, as always, for joining us here on the program. Appreciate it.